Good science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion. Otherwise, you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in the frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown and you lose it?
Where you been?
Drunk. Wendy. Darling. Light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course. I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck up and die.
Would for nostalgia reasons too, because Army of Darkness is my dad's favorite one, obviously, because it's
that
like
tracks.
dumb.
That tracks. I don't know why, but that makes perfect sense.
Because Van Helsing's his favorite movie, so it's like, of course, Army of Darkness.
Oh my god!
Like, you know, so yeah.
Anyway, of course it is.
Well, yeah, man.
Anyway, let's just get into it, bud. This is the Cult of Cinema Knowledge podcast.
Dude, you know, I was preparing for this episode all morning. I was just wide-eyed right at the sun. I just stared directly into the sun
if you're
as wide as I could.
If you're on the video, you'll know that Jordan's eyes are just seeping blood.
Yeah,
just right out of his skull.
They're pure white, and they're like they've got a leather exterior.
They're just nothing but scabs at this point.
Yeah.
So you might be wondering why Jordan was staring directly into the sun all morning. Other than that's his regular Tuesday routine to get ready for the podcast. It's because we watched the movie Sunshine. Sunshine, directed by Danny Boyle and written by Alex Garland. Holy shit, I just realized it wasn't my week to write the synopsis, right?
Did you write it?
No.
Oh, I'm upset at you because I wanted you to write it, and then so I didn't have to take the fall. I 100% forgot.
Yeah.
And so I had no idea it was my turn. So I literally like 6:15 I come in and I just start like bashing something out, and then I was like, well, this is trash. I don't have time to fix this. So, I'll read my like my opener, and then I can kind of fortunately this is really is a very simple story.
Yeah, the plot is very straightforward, so.
Yeah, but I'll read my opener was Sunshine, Danny Boyle, it's 2007. Our star is dying, and the crew aboard the Icarus II carries a payload the size of Manhattan, with the hopes of causing a chain reaction to reignite the sun and bring a livable climate back to the world. And then I was like, we find our crew 6 months out in their voyage into space, and so it's the Icarus II. There's 8 people on the ship, and they're all varying degrees of astronaut, science, person, and they're all super nerds. And
they are.
Our main character is Kappa, he's a physicist. I don't know how.
He's like the nuclear. He's like a nuclear physicist. He built the giant nuclear bomb.
Bomb boy. He is Oppenheimer.
Which is funny. I know. I didn't even make that connection until we started watching the movie. Yeah. I was like, holy shit! He plays a nuclear physicist in this, and I guess it's actually a direct sequel to our real life. You know.
Right. Exactly.
Of him playing Oppenheimer. It's his great Kappa. his great grandson.
Oppenheimer Kappa.
Anyway, so what happens to these astronauts and scientists?
I know, right?
Jordan?
Yeah, right. I know, right. So, like, oh my God,
this is why we write synopsises.
I know. Leave me alone. I started writing something, but it's really bad. Anyways,
whatever.
The crew, they're 6 months out in their voyage. They just passed Mercury, and a distress signal from Icarus I that was marooned and abandoned and just presumed missing, or it was missing, it
lost at sea
dead.
Essentially.
Right, exactly. They get a distress signal from that ship, and the crew have to deliberate and figure out what they're gonna do. And I really appreciate the writing for this and the structure of the crew, where they wanted to do it as a democracy, and he's like, we're not a democracy, we're scientists, we're you know,
It's a risk
we're gonna do this.
assessment, like
Yeah, the risk assessment, and it's like, and it's cool because the psychop on there, the psychologist, he's like, no, we're gonna do this because we're all very intelligent. We're gonna do the most logical thing, the most like the thing that's scientifically gonna give us the greater outcome. And then they put that on Kappa, and it's his duty now and his responsibility to figure out if they want to go to the Icarus one and take them off course.
right, and not even
with-
to like save them or anything. It's just to get their
No,
bomb because
that's-
that's the rest.
right,
Of all
exactly.
that's why they give it to Kappa.
Right. Yeah, right, exactly. They give it to Kappa because he apparently can make he gets to make the greatest decision because he's technically the only person that knows how to operate the bomb on the
Yeah.
ship,
And-
which I think was a little odd for like narratively, like that you just give it to one person. But I love how everyone fits in their
Yeah.
archetype, their trope.
It's very
You know,
like
so-
every person needs to. It's all the cogs, but it's like the minimum amount of people you can have to run
Right.
it, so everyone has a vital job. You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. And it's like it plays to like the hubris of man where we've built a machine that's like our spaceship is so technologically advanced that like you really only need a bare bones crew and every person can just do their one thing because they don't expect you to get into any trouble even though they have the knowledge of the first ship going missing. And their communication goes down. So anyways, it's kind of I like that it actually works really well for the plot of just like just backstory. But anyways, they go
So
to
then
they
what
decide
happens?
they decide to go to Icarus 1 as you would imagine. It would be awkward if this movie's 35 minutes and he goes no. They go to the sun and it's a successful mission and they go home. But
good.
they decide to go to Icarus 1. They dock it. It's really cool because the ship has these huge shields in front of them that's like protecting them. The ship lives behind this huge shield and it's protecting them from the sun. And so they use that shield to like kind of block it a little bit so then they can like disengage from the bomb, from the payload, and then move their actual ship over and dock to the Icarus 1. And this is important because the ships are docked and they're connected with their doors, essentially, whatever their ports. And then they get in, it pressurizes, everything's cool. They get on Icarus 1 and it's like covered in it looks like dust, but it's kind of ashen. And anyways, it's like really dirty and abandoned, and it's really quiet and really odd, but there's a lot of life in the sense of like vegetation and like their biodome area where
Basically,
they grow
find
their
out
food and
everything
their
works except for the flight controls, which have been sabotaged.
which have been sabotaged, correct. And then they find the crew, and the crew have kind of they look like it's like kind of a like ritualistic sacrifice or that of like a communal suicide. They're all sitting in front of the observation deck for the sun, and they've opened the observation deck to 100% and let the sun in, and it's like burned them. It's turned them to like ashy corpse.
No
it's
SPF
brutal.
is going to help with that.
We all made that joke. But anyways, so it's like really cool and creepy, and then they get a voice recording, like a video recording of some like video log from the captain of the Icarus 1. His name's Pinbacker, and he's straight up like cuckoo bananas. He's like, oh yeah, he's like the sun. He's like, I opened up my eyes and I saw the sign, dude.
Yeah, that is exactly what.
He literally was like,
saw the sun.
saw the sun. I saw the sun.
I saw the sun. I opened
But yeah.
my eyes and saw the sun.
But it's like, dude, he's definitely gone. He's gone cray.
Yeah.
So he Pinbacker, like all of a sudden, everyone's on the ship. They see this weird recording and they're like, well, that's funky monkey. And then boom, the ship gets disconnected and it's like not pressurized correctly. So Icarus 2 gets torn apart, and then they softly drift away from Icarus 1. And now that the people on Icarus 1 are like, oh, we need to get back. How are we going to do this? And it's really cool because now they have to make a choice again. Who's the most valuable person on the ship? It's Kappa. And it's so cool because like Kappa's like thrusted with this responsibility where he's just like, it's kind of just like, ah, shit, man, this is like this is super heavy. It's like psychologically intense.
It's really
to
well
just-
written. Everything that drives the plot
so-
forward to like give
Yeah.
Kappa these positions, because he's not like that kind of character necessarily.
No,
like
no.
he's sort of reluctant and stuff, but
Yeah. Because
it's great because it's like because of the hierarchy of them, they all know immediately like Kappa needs to go. You know what I mean? Kappa's the one. Like
he's the one, and it's cool. Like throughout the whole movie, it's stated that everybody knows their one life doesn't. It's like our one life doesn't outweigh the billions that we're gonna save at home. That's so they're just kind of like they know it's almost like this. Like crusade, they know they're going on this mission, and it's like, well, we kind of just know we're gonna die, and they kind of know that, like honestly, really early in the movie.
Yeah, I think a lot of the
they've all made
characters
peace with it.
have kind of accepted it, but haven't had the reality hasn't sunk in yet because the plan is to come home, but it hasn't sunk in until Harvey realizes that they're not getting back home, and then he's the one that can't deal with the fact that he might die.
I know,
He's
I
probably
love
gonna
that
die.
dude, but yeah, the second in command. But anyways,
they're all gonna die. Like no, that's the thing. Pretty much the whole movie, though, because they know that they're all gonna die, and that makes for an interesting. Like, it doesn't matter if we die. The characters in the movie, it's about do they complete their mission or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
like,
what's happening with the Icarus One and everything. Yeah.
I was left the first time I saw it with like. I was kind of like, oh shit, are they gonna? Because I was really nervous that they were gonna make it like hopeful and someone was gonna survive, and I was like, oh man, the whole time I was like, it's like don't do that, don't have anyone survive, everyone has to die.
All right.
And spoiler alert, everyone dies.
Everyone dies.
So
they were a little halfway through the movie. Yeah.
More than halfway now. So they shoot back over. They open the pressure on the Icarus One, and it shoots him over, and it's this like crazy daring shot, and they make it, and the second in command who becomes
Harvey,
captain,
the comms officer.
Harvey, he just dies, and who gives a shit about him? But they get back into the ship, and then it turns out they're like, oh, we only have enough oxygen to make it to the drop-off point. Blah blah blah. We have like 4 people on crew, and then the ship, who's like sentient, it can be like, it's like, oh no, you have 5. You have 5 living people on the ship, and he's like, oh fuck, we shouldn't. And then it's like, boom, it's Pinbacker. Here he is, and he's out there like he's running around like in the grate. He's just like in the air ducts, like he's messing with all this shit, and he's like breaking the computers. And anyways, they like I don't know. He causes some shit. He kills some of the crew. He's pure evil, and he attacks Kappa, and Kappa gets like stuck in a thing, and he puts a suit. Anyways, that doesn't really matter because he just ends up getting onto the payload, and he has to like disengage the payload and ride the payload down manually. It turns into that like you have to do it manually. He can't just set the computer anymore because it's been damaged. And so he gets onto the actual bomb, and he meets Pinbacker, and then he's like disconnected the ship, and now the payload is falling into the sun. It's been like its propulsion system is on, and it's just pushing him towards the sun, and so like time distorts, and like it's kind of cool because like there's no fight between good and evil in this. It's like Pinbacker shows up, they tussle for a minute, and then it like they get thrown away, and like the whole like time just doesn't really exist. Gravity is broken, and like they're just
smears
tumbling
out with all the gravity and the velocity and everything.
Right, and they're just like they're tumbling and hurtling, and they're going like directly into the center of the sun, and he's able to get to the bomb, and he like sets it up manually, and then like it goes off, and then he's like standing between the eruption, and it's just like a wall of fire, and like the ignition sparks behind him, and it's just like all time has stood still, and he's just like there forever, and it's really cool. And he like goes right into the sun, and it's just a little bleep, and then it ends with a sunny day.
It does end with he's got the quote at the beginning, and it ends with the sunny day. It's nice, and
right, and it really is,
Earth.
it actually is. Like,
I was surprised when it showed Earth, but I'm glad they only showed it. Yeah, the once. Yeah, it's optimistic for they succeeded in their mission. Earth is they're heroes. They died. They died as heroes. Most of them.
Yeah, I know, and it's
nice.
beautiful, and it's not like Oppenheimer where it's going to be like American propaganda.
Yeah, we'll see. And
we'll see.
A non-American. I mean, Christopher Nolan's making. He's not American, so who knows? Maybe.
Right. I mean, true. Yeah. My fingers are crossed. I'm hoping.
Who knows?
But anyways, back to
they're just
back
gonna
to the
say
sun.
those godless commies gotta blow them up.
I don't really know. It's kind of hard to be like to be like this bomb. I'm sure in the movie they're going to go a lot.
I
like,
trust
this is a
Christopher
big
Nolan,
bomb. It's
but I
scary.
hope not.
Yeah,
like it's
I
not
know,
directed
I know.
by Clint Eastwood. like
I know, right?
Clint Eastwood's version. He's gonna make Oppenheimer after he sees this movie. He's gonna be like, "That was a goddamn fucking godless shame." Like,
yeah, really though.
There wasn't
Look, do you know
enough
what I
rock,
love?
flag, and eagle. Sorry.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, no, he's gonna be like, I'm gonna put a cowboy hat on that bomb. But anyways, just like, you know what's so cool? This, I know exactly. That's literally what I'm gonna get at right this second.
Yeah.
So everybody out in podcast land, you're probably like, what are these just rambling about? But this movie has so many just like Easter eggs, callbacks, homage, whatever you want to call it. That like the style of storytelling in this, it's really tight and really beautiful, but it has so many little nuggets. Like, it's beautiful. They ride an atomic bomb into the sun, and it's like just like in Doctor Strangelove. Like, he's like they ride the atomic bomb. It's so, I know, dude, it's so good.
And it's got like the obelisks that are reminiscent of 2001.
Right. Those
at the end of the movie, and then obviously the robot is very HAL inspired. Like, it's like it knows its place within like the sci-fi lexicon.
Well, he definitely was like, he's like, not, Danny Boyle wasn't trying to reinvent anything. He's just taking all the things that he loves and he's, putting them into a movie. And like, he really did. It was like 2001: A Space Odyssey and Alien were like the two biggest influences.
Yeah.
And it's cool because like Pinbacker is fucking Dark Star. It's like,
literally, Pinback.
He literally is. It's like, yeah. And then the Cartman suits are funny, or not Cartman, but the
Kenny suits,
from South Park.
The
Like
suits
how he
are
like,
designed
yeah,
to look
they
like Kenny from South Park.
Yeah, these are like the funniest. It's like you can't. I don't know. It's cool because it's like all these like silly little Easter eggs, but then it's like the movie is pure drama. It's wholly serious, and then it kind of like I think that like people get upset with the third act. In this
people's
movie
biggest
because
complaint
so
is that
tonal.
it shifts tonal, and they say, "Oh, it just becomes like a slasher movie," and I'm like,
but
it's
so
not
much more.
It's not out of left field or anything, because like everything in the script is really, really good, and everything in the script, like a lot has to happen for Pinbacker to get on that ship and things to happen, and there's like a lot of foreshadowing for it and everything. But like,
right.
I get that it's like he basically goes around and he's all like crazy and like the fucking camera's all glitching out, and it's like,
I was gonna say that's my only. So when I first saw this, movie,
I wish they would have just showed him. But
too.
But I'm glad the way they chose not to show him as much was effective. So it's a minor gripe. That's why this is a 4. That's one of the reasons this is a 4.5-star movie. Because goddamn, do I fucking love this movie, and seen it a dozen times probably. And I will definitely be watching it again in the future, but it's like it's the small little things like that that are really minor, that it's just like, but I still think it's one of the best sci-fi films of all time. You know what I mean? So
it's like top 10 easy for me. Yeah. Easy. Top 5 probably.
Top 5
honestly.
probably.
Like I just love how tight it is, and I'm just like a little atheist edgelord that like I love that like the sun drove him mad, and like he's like he literally was like talking to God. It's like I loved all of his monologues.
There's a lot of,
he's such a cool evil villain. I love
it. It's cool because it's like he is basically what Cyril could have become if he was more like it's like had he been like, we don't know what kind of man Pinbacker was. Like, he probably already had some shit deep down before he went all insane and stuff. So who knows if Cyril would have had the same fate. But it's like, it's clear that whatever happened to Pinbacker is what is happening to Cyril, who is obsessed with staring at the sun. I mean, the movie starts with him in the sunroom being like,
that's so good.
How high of percentage can I see this? And they're like, we're seeing it at 2%. And he's like, well, can we see it at 5%? And the machine's like, no, you'll go blind. And he's like, well, what's the highest I can go? And he's just, throughout the movie, though, that's the only scene you see him do that. But throughout the movie, he's just like constantly sunburned and blistered.
You want to talk about
from just sitting in the sunroom? Like,
in my notes, I'm like, this needs to be studied in classes for foreshadow. Like, it has some of the greatest just visual imagery when he's looking at the sun, that opening scene, and then he puts his hand out and it starts to blur on his hand.
Yeah.
They do that shot with his fucking arm that's burnt. Like, he is he's definitely somebody who's got space madness, dude. He's got sun madness.
And
like,
if you don't know us, I mean, only a few people. Me and Jordan get rock hard for the idea of space madness. Like space madness is our jam for sure. So
yeah, this is my style of. This is like Solaris style, like any like cerebral, just like being stuck in space and basically just being like marooned in space, and like that, just like how like I love. I mean, it's this movie already is a horror before Pinback even shows up. Is like the ship when it's creaking, and it's just like they show the ship is so desolate too. It's like they go through the halls
low
and it's
lighting
just like,
even. It's like kind of very haunted housey, which again
Yeah.
is like Alien is a huge influence. It's like I'm glad they didn't go the route of like they kept it all still grounded because it was a constant escalation, but they kept it grounded where like, oh yeah, when they see the Icarus One, it's not like, oh, because he even makes a joke, what, you afraid you're gonna run into Little Green Men or whatever.
Yeah, he like makes the alien joke. Yeah,
but then it's just like, no, it's the insane captain that went insane from fucking being engulfed by the sun.
Well, and it's so cool
the
because
sunshine,
like,
which is again,
there's dude, yeah, the sunshine, like, and that the visual of the sun is so beautiful, dude. Do you know, like, have you looked into, like, I'm sure you know a little bit about like the backstory about this and like the production, like, quote unquote nightmare this movie was?
A smidge. I mean, obviously, so going back, first time I saw this movie, I saw it with my stepdad, and we were late to the movie, so I came like after all the exposition at the beginning because there's quite a bit.
That you need that, dude. It's so good.
And then, I loved it, and I ended up watching it a bunch of times since then, obviously. So it's like you and I were both pretty obsessed with it in high school, and so it's like I definitely watched all the bonus features back then, so I kind of remember, but tangentially. What do you remember?
It pertains to the visuals, because it took them, so it's wild. They wrote this for a year, and they went through like, you know, countless drafts, but that's kind of par for the course. But they wrote it for a year. It took them. They shot it in 3 months, which is pretty dope. But
that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. This movie, we'll get to it later, but it's like it feels like a little lower. But you know, it's not like if you watch it back to back to like Interstellar or something like that. It's like they're doing a lot with what they have, I feel like, for sure, and so it's like that makes sense. It's like shoot it pretty quick, and
and then production, and then post-production. Yeah. Post-production was a year, and then visual, like CG, because he wanted it to, like, you know, stand the test of times. They kept it to one studio, and they painstakingly created it to where like it wouldn't. It's like weird how it would age, like the practical they used on top of CG and like what they blend together and like real actual like space footage that they used in the CG. So it's like actual real like film, you know, that's used and then like digitized, turned into CG. It took them a year just to build all the CG out. So this was like a 3-year production on a 3-month shoot, which is wild.
It's crazy.
It's like crazy.
Because like even watching it and having seen it so many times, if you'd ask me, you'd say something about the CG, and I'd be like, "There's not that much CG in this movie."
But practical,
but there is a fair amount. But it looks so good that it feels.
That's
like...
crazy, dude. Yeah, it's wild though. It is all CG. Like he didn't build huge miniatures like you'd expect.
Yeah,
it's all like digitally compressed and digitally built.
For 2007, like 2007, it's like CG was like, you know, CG was definitely getting there.
But it was still like half of it. If you go back and watch something from 2007, that's
very little of this. I'm like recognizing like, oh, that's obviously CG. Like, there's only a couple shots where I like actually actively think that, but mostly I'm just so engrossed because CG is used fucking correctly as a tool. It's like the external shots and like everything. You know, it's like back when they're out, when you know, Kaneda and Kappa are out fixing the solar panels. It's like, obviously, all the exterior shots of them out there are CG, but it's just like, it's so effective cut between the insides of their helmets and then the crew inside. It's like,
right. And
I don't even question it. Like, if you would have told me they shot that on like a soundstage on wires, I would have been like, oh yeah, obviously, because it looks great. And the scene is so impactful that it's like,
but never. I mean, a lot of it was shot. It's cool. It's cool because like 100% of the interiors were like built like that, all that ship, you know, they built like all of that. And that's really cool. But I don't know, dude. I bet you if you go back to like Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End came out in 2007. I bet if you look at the CG on that, that's a huge budget.
There's some
huge,
real good CG in that movie, but there is some also not some great CG because that's the one. That's the one with Davy Jones, right? Yeah, the tentacle beard.
He's got the squid beard. Yeah. But anyways, back to squid in the sky. Yeah. They love the sun, but I don't know, man. Yeah. So what? Like, I guess we kind of touched on our first impressions to take it back to the beginning, but I saw this in theaters, and I'm pretty sure I saw this with Chet, and we both were blown away. I mean, I definitely like it. It got me good, dude. I loved like the music. It's like, and Danny Boyle's so good at that, and he really got into it with like 28 Days Later.
What happened with Danny Boyle? Like he's still there. Like, you know, he's still doing good stuff. But I feel like for a minute there, because we were even talking about our favorite Danny Boyle movies, and you're listening to us gush about this, but we still think that maybe Trainspotting and 20 Days Later are even better.
Even better. No, the whole thing is,
it's crazy that they're even better, and this movie's so good.
Better. Yeah. Well, and this, I finally got Victoria to watch this movie, and
you guys did actually, because we were doing the stream thing, and you did actually sit down with her and watch it.
Yeah, we went back and we watched it together.
Okay, yeah. What was her thoughts?
And she hated the third act, which is totally acceptable.
I mean, that tracks for her though.
And it's funny. It's funny. She hates it, but she likes it's whatever. I know she likes the character, and it's fine. It like kind of just she hates like the.
She was probably just enjoying. She was enjoying all the like tense sci-fi drama, similar to something like Interstellar.
You really could have.
And then it's like, oh no, it's scary now. I don't like scary stuff.
Kind of, right? It's like you really like when you think about it now. It's like when I saw it back in 2007, I was like, I don't want anything to change. I loved it, and even to this day, I still hold
the trajectory is.
But
it's
totally
great, but it's a
in
mystery the whole
tension.
time. Like that it's got this weird like ghost ship because it's like obviously everything in space is very nautical in a way, so it's just like this lost ship distress signal that they find, and they're like, oh, it was sabotage, and then the ship gets fucked up, and they're like, what is it? And then probably my favorite part of the whole movie, I don't know if we'll see if we get to that part, but the scene when Kappa's like working on the thing, and the robot's like, Kappa, you're dying, and he's yeah, we know, we're all dying. And she's like, yeah, but you won't have it as long as we complete the mission. She's like, you won't have enough, you'll be dead before then. And she's like, explain. And the scene, the shot, it's like that's a true horror moment where it just like it cuts and he just has the realization. She's like, so what do you mean there's 5 members? Who's the 5th member? Unknown. And it's just like it gets me every time too when she just says unknown. I'm like, oh fuck. It's so good.
Let's see.
There he is.
Oh, yeah. He came back. Hey, why do we get one of these now every episode? What's going on? Why does it decide to just have a hiccup like right in the middle?
I don't know. I've been noticing that too. I wonder if there's like something with the time, because it's right at 30 minutes. Actually,
you should edit it out.
but it's like we get right back into it, so it's just like I don't know.
I mean, sure. Well, can we get in real quick? If we're touching on, Danny Boyle for a moment, because we're like, where did he go? Did he fall astray? I think like he's, exactly. I know. I don't think he's like lost his touch. I just think he's like decided to do something different.
He's just kind of like being more chill with it. I think.
What was Trance about?
I really liked Trance. I thought it was a little misguided. It was kind of got some weird moments that kind of are pointless. But overall, I actually really want to rewatch Trance. I've only watched it like once or twice. And I liked it. And then I didn't see Steve Jobs. I did see T2. Recently I watched that actually after we watched Trainspotting. Go listen to that episode. But I watched it after we watched Trainspotting, and I did like it. It wasn't nearly as good, but but it was a solid addition. And yesterday was also pretty good. It was a fun concept, done well, but it was just pretty plain. It was just kind of, I don't know. But
I really do feel like Sunshine was his last epic, and I think it's like, honestly, you have that Garland dude, Alex Garland and Danny Boyle
Alex Garland,
together.
yeah.
They fucking I need them back because on their own they're good and they're fine. Like Alex Garland, his directorial debut was great, and I've liked his other pieces that he's done after. But them together, can we get them back together, dude? Because they did Beach, which I don't care if you didn't like that. I love Beach. I think the Beach is fucking cool.
I want to see it again because I did like it, but I remember being like, I watched the Beach after I'd watched a lot of his other stuff. After this, probably.
I saw Beach between 28 Days Later. So that's how come it's like, I kind of mix them together. Like, The Beach does, that's what I love though. It's like, that's Alex Garland's writing is like, he does tonal shifts. And it's like, he dares to dream about creating like more than one genre. And like,
he takes
the
risk.
love it.
And I think this movie, it obviously didn't work for some people. And that's probably what kept this movie from like, because this movie is pretty well liked, but that's always the complaint. Is it's not like this movie wasn't made well, it's got bad characterization, whatever. The complaint is always either something with the science fiction, which boo-hoo, it's a fucking movie. Suspension of disbelief, like, yeah, there's gravity, so like whatever. And then also the tonal shift, and it's just like, but I'm just so glad they swung for it, and for me it really works. And for a lot of people it really works. But yeah, that's Alex Garland, man. Like
He does. 20 Days Later is that's my favorite. That's in my like top 3 favorite movies of all time. Period. Let alone like Alex Garland's like greatest.
We didn't do a whole episode on 28 Days.
We didn't do a whole.
It was part of the Horror-tober. Yeah.
Which I'm like, we could do
that.
it. I know. We don't need to do. We don't need a full episode. I would watch it again.
No.
20 Days Later is.
I'm right now the next Danny Boyle movie we're watching for sure. I'm gonna put it on polls again. It never wins the polls. But fucking Shallow Grave. That's the next one. Because I love Shallow Grave. Because that was the
awesome.
one. That was the other one for me.
I've that like twice, if that.
Maybe
once for sure. And then, I just remember a lot of stylistic choices in that. And I think that's what I like is like, it's like, so Slumdog kind of just sits in a like.
Dude, I forget.
It's just like a weird
job.
It's a weird scoop in my brain of like what it is. So Sludge Dog is like weird, but 127 hours. I remember being
I forgot he did that.
I remember being like, this is cool. Like I'm kind of like Danny Boyle's. He's still doing things. Like he definitely like he kept like the motivation going, and like I'm kind of like Danny Boyle's really good at that. Like I don't know. I feel like he's like house music. I can't even really get into like.
I know.
It's just like he's got such a good energy, good momentum in all of his movies. I mean, Millions is amazing too. Have you seen that?
Millions is good. Yeah,
Millions
I really
is
like
so
Millions.
Cool. And it's cool that he did kind of like a quote unquote like young adult.
God, there was a director we were talking about. Maybe it was Linklater, but like I think I mentioned Danny Boyle back when we were talking about Linklater for one of the last either Days and Confused or Scanner Darkly. Go listen to those episodes. But I was talking about how he's one of the only directors that is so varied is like Linklater, and then I pretty sure I mentioned also Danny Boyle, because that's the thing. It's like Danny Boyle's got a style, but it's like 28 Days Later and Sunshine and Trainspotting. It's like there are such different movies, but it's like you could still feel his fingerprints on it though, like so hard. But it's just like I like that he's not like he does his thing, and I'm glad because he succeeds at it, and that's the sign of like a really good one of the signs of a really great director is like. He does everything he tries is pretty good.
Right. Yeah, he does. He can stick the landing. It's like he always. I mean, even with that stylistic choice of having Pinbacker be like shrouded. It's weird because instead of having him be shrouded in darkness or being shrouded by objects or even just cloaked, it's like the camera is broken around him. Like he's producing. It's cool because it's like. It almost is like it doesn't work because it's like, well, it's not part of the narrative, but it like literally is like he just is full of so much radiation and like
that's what it feels like. It feels like he's around him that like the camera actively toxic,
and it's like cool because that's like I know that's like his stylistic choice on top of like this is a practical thing you can't get him, even though I'm kind of like. It got like it's like I'm glad that it doesn't happen it only happens as much as it does because it does kind of like become gimmicky
if they would have done the whole camera thing like you're right, it's fairly limited and it's good for that because it's like there's enough tension leading up to that but it is like effective, you know.
But I think it's effective. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, don't get me wrong. This is a 4.5 star.
I think the only thing
100%.
that like audiences would have hated it more, but the only thing me and Jordan would have probably liked more if it was actually some like fucking sun god creature, like he just basically just like becomes this whole thing. Like,
and that's kind of right. I mean,
but I'm glad they kept it grounded though, because it all feels very. Because the whole rest of the movie, that's why I'm like, I don't understand why people are so. I mean, I get it, but also you're wrong. Why people are so butthurt by the tonal shift, because it's like. It's all there and it's all grounded. It's not like, if an alien suddenly showed up, or if, he ended up being some fucking, like, he's like, I met some eldritch creature
god.
in space, you know, and like,
right. That's what's
like,
cool is they never went supernatural with it.
They pushed it to the brink of like, what can we do to keep ramping this up and make this tense and make everything, all this conflict happen, while also making our characters try and make smart decisions and like get out of these situations. Because they do that many times. They're like, how can we blast ourselves into the airlock, and because they're smart characters in like a horror type situation, marooned in space for whatever, and it's like Kappa blowing the hole in the fucking thing and then like decompressing it so he can get out.
And that's such a beautiful tragic shot. It's like, man, I just love when Michelle Yeoh.
I had no idea it was. I haven't watched this. I didn't really know who Michelle Yeoh was last time I watched this.
Yeah,
but then I was like, oh, that's Academy Award winning actress Michelle Yeoh watching it this time.
I know. Right, and I love her character. Do you know what's cool? This is a tangent, but Michelle Yeoh was like the first person casted, and Danny Boyle was so impressed with like just who she was, like off camera, like her audition, and then just her person is like amazing. She was offered any part. She could be any character she wanted to be in the script.
Oh, that's cool.
And they would just rewrite that like character to like change, quote unquote gender. Or
yeah, but even then it's like they're all pretty much by their last names. Like any character could be played by anyone else.
That's kind of that was the whole thing. It's like it doesn't matter. But anyhow, they were like, if she wanted to be any part, and she was most attracted to the botanist, and so she liked.
That makes sense because she is a good character.
She worked so good for that.
What is Kate or whatever, the gal that makes it the farthest and is like kind of, and I'm glad Cassie, they didn't make Cassie. That's what I meant. Yeah, they didn't. I'm glad they didn't make like a love subplot. Like you could tell they have chemistry.
Chemistry. And I love how it's like just close quarters, and they definitely get along the most.
It's like you could see them having a situation where like one night late they like kissed or something weird. But I'm glad that the movie's not about that. But it's like I don't even think anything
physical. I just think that they've just talked. I like literally like just they've been together so long, and it's like because she's the only time she's like in his private quarters.
What's her job? Do you remember what her job is?
She not 100% sure because it's like Cassie
I
and
I've
Mace.
seen this movie so many times I forgot it.
Chris Evans and
we haven't even talked about him at all. Yeah.
I know Chris Evans. I know, right? It's great. Yeah, Captain America's in this.
He does his job perfectly fine.
Oh, he's so good
at
it,
the hothead butch boy. Like I like it,
and I love it. Yeah,
Kappa,
I love. Yeah, like
do it, Kappa.
Do it. I know that was that was something. Right. He was definitely that like his death because like I was like he gets done dirty in this movie.
It was effective though.
I'm pretty sure Cassie or Casey or whatever, she is just another navigation. Like I think
she's like the co-pilot or something. Like they say,
right?
I'm pretty sure she's like she is an astronaut because that's the thing. Her and Chris Evans are they like flight. They're astronauts, and it's like everyone else is like mostly scientists, Well, and Kaneda. I wish he was in it more because he's the first person to die, but he's cool.
Oh, I loved him, and it's so sad. But I love that Kaneda and the what the hell's the other
Cyril,
dude
the like psychiatrist.
Cyril, psychiatrist Cyril. Like I love that they both are getting space madness.
They are a little bit. Because that's the thing. We'll skip to that right now. So I love the horror movie moment, but that's the best scene. That's my favorite scene.
That's the scene that we've quoted the most.
What do you see?
What do you see?
Kaneda.
What do you say? I can't like it's do you know why we quote it so dramatically? Is because the music is intense.
It's
like
so
Yeah,
Why isn't he
just, like,
moving?
yeah. Why? Oh my god. Well, it's great because it is like it literally is like he doesn't have enough time, and I kind of that was a little like I don't know if you know the inner workings. I need to watch that scene again to kind of understand why he died. Like he kind of chose to die. I understand. Like
Yeah,
you know,
the ship
like,
had
the ship
to move everything
rewrited
back.
itself.
Yeah, and so it's like
They
he just
couldn't-
didn't have enough time, and so he
Yeah.
fixed the last panel while Kappa
Right.
made it back to the edge of the thing, and so Kappa
Right.
barely got out of there in time. But Kaneda, he knew that he had to fix the panel, and then by then he didn't want to try and give himself false hope and make a desperate race. Like he knew he was gonna die anyway, and so he's just
Right.
like, now he's out there like in space, and he's just like, you know what? I wonder if I can see this fucking thing. Like, actually just see
He really
it.
wanted
you know?
to. Yeah. You wanted to like see the true, like, because it's like
The
it really is
bare
one of those things,
sun.
like, dude, don't get me wrong. This is
Get
my like.
raw
This is
dogged
why.
by the sun.
This
man.
is
Like,
this is why I love it. It's like I'm like the sun is the only thing that could factually be God. So it's like it's the only thing
I
that
mean,
exists
it
as
was
God.
it was God for
It
most
was
of
God.
human civilization, pretty much.
Right? Exactly.
Or
exactly.
not civilization, but like human history. Like,
Sure.
I am gonna start
just-
worshiping the sun.
I mean, that's
Like,
yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's kind of memed to death now that like praise the sun, but it really is like this. Like it's so like
That's why it is perfect. That's
I
why
recall it's
we
so,
do love
yeah,
it. It's
powerful.
so
right.
because
And
it
then
goes
I
back
just love how
into human history, even like our it's literally the course of our life. It's the center of our solar system. Like the Almighty, if it is a god, yeah, like you said, it basically is. And so the fact that it's like the main antagonist is the sun itself, and then Pinbacker, who goes mad basically worshiping the sun, is just too cool, man. It's too fucking cool. Like
it's too cool. And that, yeah, it really is. It just really like, and he's got some of like the coolest monologues. And dude, it gives me god dang chills every time I see that. And he's like, it takes 8 minutes for the sun to reach the earth.
Yeah.
And so if it's a particularly bright day, you know, we made it. And you're just like, oh, and he's just sitting there in between like the explosion. It's, oh my God. I don't know. This movie
good.
definitely,
I
it's definitely
I really, because that's the thing. I think about every
beautiful.
step of this movie because it's so well paced, dude. Like, it's got like,
it's tight. It's tight.
it's
It's wet,
tight.
man.
This movie
this
is
wet.
It's sopping wet, even though it's in direct sunlight the entire time. It's like soaking,
Yeah.
man. It just won't dry, and like every like, because I can think of like so many intense, well put together, well characterized. Like this movie's got an 8-man cast, and all the characters are fucking like interesting. Like I like them all. They're not like super.
very
They're not like
fleshed out.
yeah.
No, like,
They're not like
but,
super
like,
deep. Like they don't have their
with
huge
subtext.
backstories, but yeah, it's all
Yeah.
subtext. Like their mannerisms and their characteristics. Like say who about they are. Like there's not like huge exposition dumps where it's Harvey's all like my fucking wife and kids back home. You know what I mean? Like nobody cares. You know everything you need to know about Harvey, about how he responds to stressful situations. Which this movie is just fucking stressful situation after stressful situation that Kappa has had by making the like inciting incident of them hearing the Icarus One. You know what I mean?
right.
And then it's
Well,
like
dude,
Kappa
we-
had to make the decision, and because of that, and like Mace is the constant reminder that's constantly like the blood is on your hands, like literally puts the fucking bloody scalpel in
I
his
know,
hands.
but it's the blood. Yeah.
And it's just like there's just so much good tension and good conflict, which like conflict is the fucking source of any drama. You know what I mean? It's just this movie rules. I love this movie.
I do too. I was gonna say actually, on this rewatch, it's like it's totally just my own personal thing, and it doesn't. It's like I don't know. It's a movie, so if you start poking holes into there is no movie that's like completely perfectly sound and tight. There's nothing. There's always room for like, but why? When Mace starts explaining to the crew. Because it's like it's for the audience, obviously. When he's like, because it's a sound argument on his end. Because he's like, we have one bomb, we need to take it. That's our main objective. That's it. Period. So Mace is probably a military guy or something. He's very like, this is our objective. We have to. We're on course. Let's not deviate because that like, if you deviate off course, then you're like it is really like your probability to fail is higher because now you're off course. And so anyways, so he's explaining like we've got the payload, we've got the one bomb, and we have to take it. And like how he's explaining to the crew, and he's like, if we don't get that bomb there, then the world dies. And he's iterating a point, but we already know.
Everyone has a good point because like a lot of people agree with him too.
I'm just saying,
you know?
this is the only time. No, they agree with him, sure, but it's like it's the only time in the movie where I'm like, he is exposition dump for us, the audience member, because everyone on the ship, they know what they're doing. They know they're taking the bomb to the sun to reignite it to like save the world. Yeah. But it is something he does. He needs to say it again because it does push the point home that we just should stay on track.
Yeah,
that's the only time that I was kind of like.
Exposition is totally fine.
It's done so well.
When
that's the thing.
Sparsed out well, which I think it is in this.
Oh,
movie.
It's perfect. And like I'm saying, it's like as I explain, I have a gripe with it. It fits in with the movie so well that it's like really you don't even notice it. I've never really noticed that until this viewing.
I think a lot of my brother's one. He's got the one gripe, and then it's like the other couple gripes.
Though. Why do people get upset about the slingshot around Mercury? I'm like, that's just legit. I don't get it.
No, it's because they use the slingshot to use the speed from the slingshot to get to the sun, but then they stop at the Icarus. And so basically implying that they where did they have a buttload of fuel then to then stop the slingshot essentially?
Right. I guess that's true because when he's like, I recalculated and did it for fuel costs.
I think it's essentially the return cost of the fuel that they spent that would have been for the return trip home.
And that's what he does explain that actually in the movie. That's how come I was like, is that what they were thinking? I was worrying about fuel because in the movie it's implied that like, no, I burnt our home fuel, and it's kind of one of those things. Even Cass says like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there because like comms go down, and he's like, we need comms to get home. She's like, we'll cross that bridge when we get there, and then like they're like, yeah, we just
get real, Harvey. Get real.
Right. Like, it was kind of
you're gonna freeze in space and then shatter, which is another fucking cool scene.
So cool. It's so beautiful.
But like, I know that there's like there's a couple compromises in this movie for like I see people get wigged out. Like this is not a hard sci-fi film where it's just like, well, actually the science, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? I sometimes because I used to get griped out about like the gravity. You know what I mean? Like that used to be a minor gripe of mine where it's just like, oh, like they're in space but they have gravity, and if they rotate like 2001, which is like hard sci-fi, but like the ship itself is not rotating. They have a constant plane of gravity, which basically is implied that something to do with that spinning thing at the center is helping creating artificial gravity.
And there's things that just there's things that spin on the ship itself. And outside there's so much stuff spinning. And that is what
well, that's the whole thing, you know. That's but that's I haven't cared about that since, you know, the second time I watched this maybe. And but that is, I know that sometimes things people get hung up on are those like little minor things. But it's like that's what this movie chooses to sacrifice, as like a Scorsese doesn't care if there's a weird continuity error. This movie is making the decision that it's just like your suspension of disbelief already. Like there's you know, they have artificial gravity. Boom, get over it. This is not, we're not going to spend 10 minutes describing why there's artificial gravity because that's not the point of the movie. Do you want me to have a scene where we like make up some fake shit and like, here's the artificial gravity and here's how it works, you know what I mean? And so it's like, I feel the same way that I feel like there's a lot of things you can just kind of explain away pretty easily with the suspension of disbelief, like the fuel thrusters and everything. Like, sure, like it doesn't show them using the fuel, but it's implied and you can kind of assume that that's the case. Because it's non-critical to the story that they're trying to tell. And so it's just like, I don't care, you know what I mean? And I think some hardcore sci-fi nerds, like, I love Interstellar, but that's probably one of my things about Interstellar, where it's just like, it's focusing so much, like I feel like Christopher Nolan's like, no, this is how you have to do it exactly. And I'm like, we get it, move on. This scene is already 30 minutes long. Like
Christopher Nolan, he does the pitfall that we're talking about. Christopher Nolan over-explains the spinning ships. He's like, you're spinning at this velocity, and I'm going to spin at this velocity and opposite, and then we'll become neutral, and then we can hook on. And it's like, it's cool. It's a cool scene, and it does work mathematically, sure.
Yeah.
Everything like that. But it does become this long 15-minute
doesn't
to
doesn't
explain
serve the
something
story.
that could have
you know
been
what I
done.
mean? Yeah, like just
Right.
do it, and then it's just like
And
that's how it works.
but I do enjoy Interstellar's. I like.
I
that
mean,
they kinda
Interstellar is
try
great
to
too, but
defend-
this
yeah.
movie, when people talk about the greatest film set in space, this movie should be talked about, in my opinion, alongside Interstellar.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Interstellar, yeah.
I think this movie is just as good, and I probably enjoy it more than Interstellar.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like,
As much as I do, I like Interstellar because
I like it a lot too.
It kind of becomes like an abstract like ending where it's like.
Well, they swung
it's
for
fine.
it too, and that's why sci-fi is such a fucking
know.
great genre, man.
It's like, yeah,
Is
it's a good vehicle.
because you really it allows for those risks. You know, it allows for people to get really like. That's why sci-fi and horror are the fucking goats, man. Because like it's like the vehicle to tell really interesting stories and to like really push ideas. You know what I mean? Kind of to the brinks. And I think
and it's a good excuse to get a group of people into a room that are collectively trying to accomplish a goal, and then that causes perfect tension. It's great. It's flawless. I love it. Do you have any?
Yeah, I've been trying to pull that up for like the last. I had it for like the last 15 minutes. The Reddits.
I know.
But,
Well,
we'll
I'll
quit gushing about this movie so much. But
I know. That's basically what it is. It's like we
but-
loved it. I'm sure you loved it too out there in the world. But
But
we'll.
we love it because it's really fucking well made. Like
It's really good. Yeah. And I can tell you now that the budget was actually pretty substantial. It was 26 mil, which is like not crazy high, but when you look at like Upgrade I feel like has the same production value, kind of a little bit.
Well,
and it's like
Upgrade's-
a quarter of the price or whatever.
yeah,
you know?
Upgrade's punching way above its weight. This
Right.
feels,
This-
this feels like a $30 million movie.
Right.
almost.
Right.
But like it does feel lean. Like the sets are really good,
But I
but
think
it's just like contained.
I think it's crazy because it's what this movie is it proves to me that we don't need to spend any more money than 30 million.
No, we've been saying that for a while. That it's just
yeah,
like
'cause
you
it
can
looks
you can
beautiful.
make almost any movie you want with $30 million. So
Right.
just for context, can you remember what the budget for Interstellar is? I got it right here. The budget.
Well, I'm sure 100.
It's
Or is it like 90?
165 million.
65. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's bonkers.
So for context,
Yeah.
movie this
And
movie
Interstellar, like, looks
several
good.
times.
but it's just like
It
I'm
looks
like
better, I think, but like
Sure.
not by enough margin to make
And
over
and what is it, a 10-year
$110 million more.
it's like a 10-year difference too.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just wild to be like, or maybe it's only was Interstellar like 2011, so maybe it's like a 5-year difference. But
It was
regardless,
like 2014, I think.
oh, was it 14? Anyways,
14, 15.
dude, cray that we're looking at like, and CG is only getting better by every year from
Yeah.
2007
20,
to
26 million is actually not like that's to me that seems pretty like lean but like good. Like it does feel like they didn't have like they spent all their money really effectively. It doesn't seem like there was anything that was super over the top. I can't talk.
Yeah, superfluous.
It's the
anyhow.
Jaeger.
I know. Well, totally. Yeah,
All right,
dude.
anyway,
Tell me about it, baby. Give me a
Anyway.
Wait, I gotta finish.
Okay.
It made it made 34 million.
Oh, is
so
that it?
It did okay, but it's like, is that it? It was against everything. 2007. Remember, 2007 is the year.
Yeah.
Go back, look at 2007. 2007 had
God, this
every single movie.
you just blew it into
every single
perspective
movie,
for me,
dude.
man. This movie
Every
came out in
single movie.
2007 also?
Yes, every single movie that came out in 2007 was fucking great. Like
It's such a
literally,
great
even
year for movies.
like even the Transformer iteration like was better than anything we have now. It's just wild. It's like every great movie in the world came out in 2007.
Seriously.
It's crazy.
It's like there'll be blood, no
There will be
country,
blood, no
Zodiac.
country, Zodiac, Sunshine. There's like another one that was it Signal? No. There's
Signal,
another one.
yeah.
It was Signal, right?
Nobody
Yeah,
else
dude,
likes the Signal but
like,
us.
it's
But
like
Signal.
It's like, what the flip? Dude, I was actually thinking the other day. I'm like, Signal would be a really dope. It would be great to get that remade as a miniseries. Anyways, by the directors,
Yeah.
by the three of them. But
I mean,
anyways,
David
my God.
Bruckner's starting to get some clout, maybe.
That's true. Yeah, maybe you come back. Shut up. Tell me some Reddits.
I know, right? We're like an hour in.
Yeah.
So, Live Strong Bell was, Live Strong Beal was, says, a lot of folks parrot Quentin Tarantino who said it was a perfect movie that was betrayed by its third act. Get fucked. I can understand
Incorrect.
that. Yeah. I mean, Tarantino's got a lot of bad he's got some good takes, but he's got some bad takes, too.
He's got some really bad takes. No, like
He
makes
refuses
fun
to
movies
watch
with bad takes.
Return of the Living Dead because he hates Dan O'Bannon. And I'm like,
Ugh.
fuck you, man. Anyway.
Yeah, wrong.
He continues to say, I can understand that perspective, but I frankly love the ending. This was my favorite movie for almost a decade until Arrival eclipsed it. The cast is legendary.
Which is great.
That
Arrival's another tight ass fucking sci-fi.
Arrival belongs in the same conversation, and they are both
Yeah.
pretty much masterpieces. The cast is legendary. The score is iconic. This is still one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. This movie was when I really sat up and took notice of Alex Garland. He continues to be my favorite screenwriter. Yeah, Alex Garland, we've talked. You know who he is by now, and if not, look him up because Alex Garland, he's got everything. He's got some good shit. He's someone to keep an eye on. So, Clones Are People Too says first watch of this, and I loved it. The pacing, editing, and acting and score really pushed the film along and kept me on edge throughout. It really felt like a horror at times, and I enjoyed how the film ramped up. The score was fantastic, although I had a small issue with the sounds of space. That's another like sci-fi nerd thing where it's like, actually, there's no things in space, but it's like, and I'm not dissing on you, I'm just saying like that. Those are a lot of the gripes I heard I had to defend. I'm like, suspension of disbelief. Do you want an entertaining movie or do you want a fucking 100% scientifically accurate film? Like, anyway.
And I'm like, there's a lot of it where it's like built inside of like actual things. It's not like sound really escapes it. It's like, and it's sensationalized. Anyways, I'm just defending it a little bit, but I understand it totally. There are parts where I'm like, oh, that wouldn't be.
I get, especially on your first
factual.
viewing, that shit stands out because my second viewing, I felt the same way. It wasn't until I watched this movie many times that I'm just like, no, these are beyond deliberate. But then he says, I read about. The film was fantastic. I had a small issue with the sounds of space. I would have preferred more silence, and that could have been used to add to the tension. Kind of agree.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple turns.
Alien did it though too. It's like.
I read a lot about the film after I watched, and I didn't have a problem with the third act. I thought it was set up properly, and although the film goes a bit crazy at the end, I was fully on board with it. Overall, this was great. Up there with Moon and Arrival for me. I look forward to rewatching this in a few years. 9 out of 10. Nice. Glad you liked it.
Hell yeah, dude. And Moon. I always bring up Moon, man. We did Moon.
We did Moon.
Don't listen to that podcast.
That's an older one, but
that was a really old one. I don't know.
Basically, me sucking off Sam Rockwell the whole time. So
I know, right? Yeah, we loved it. But
so, and then I got one more for you. So, Turba13 says this movie was a bright star in a large space of sci-fi movies, and I loved it. I thought the pacing, the score, and the CGI were super good. The only beef I have is the scene where it shows them slingshotting around Mercury and then stopped the ship to dock with Icarus One and didn't really touch on it. It's implied, dog. Best part of the movie was the switch to almost a horror thriller. See, I haven't talked to him in person about this yet, but I'm glad he liked that. With what I call the Sun Demon, a.k.a. the captain from Icarus One. With that, I give this a 4.4 out of 5. That's a high praise. So thank you, everyone, for watching and commenting. And for the two of you guys that commented, this is your first time watching it. So I'm really happy that, like, us doing this has caused you to go watch this great movie because I think it's a fucking great sci-fi movie. And every time I talk about, like, what's the best sci-fi movies, and I just want more movies set in space specifically because sci-fi is a huge genre, but it's just like there is something inherently unsettling about just being in space that I love.
It's like because it's like I don't know, man. On a pirate ship, I don't think I would. It's like you could make this movie on a ship too.
It's the same. The same
but I just love the
fears amped up to like a million, and
yeah.
So anyway, thanks guys for commenting. I really appreciate that and all that. So did we get anything from Travis? I think you would have said something, right?
No, he didn't. He wanted in a text message though. He wanted us to talk about the flashes. How that that's such a good because that ramped up the horror. That got me like intrigued because I was like, holy shit, what's going on? Where it would be like so when they go to Icarus One, you start seeing these flashes of faces. And then like later you find out that like it's the crew, it's the photo, that fun, happy photo that they take in zero gravity and the whole crew's together. It's shots of all the crew members when they're walking through Icarus One, and it's so eerie and it's so trippy because the first time I saw this movie, I didn't know what was happening. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Is the screen broken?
I was like,
what is going on?
Did I just see a flash of a face? Because it's like one frame, 1 or 2 frames. Yeah. And then it happened a couple more times. I'm like, because it happens like right when the light pans across the lens or something. And I'm like, oh yeah. But that is such an effective thing because it's like you never know the second crew. You know what I mean? Not really. You know Pinbacker, and that's pretty much it. Yeah. But it's like that's such a small thing to like humanize and also show like
when it's so visually storytelling. Yeah.
It's the void of them. You know, like they're on the ship. It's so quiet. It's full of dust.
And
even
almost
says
hear
it's like mostly
that's what it feels like. It's like they're like seeing their flashes and they're like little footsteps or pitter pattering around.
It makes that scene so much more tense when they're going around the ship.
Totally. Dude, and when you find them on the ship and you're just like, oh, and it's like, and they look like those like Pompeii, you know.
It is
like,
very much like that, yeah.
Flash burn, like it's fucking beautiful. It's so cool. God, dude. And then like when the arm breaks off and it's like that's right when the ship disconnects. That's such good editing, dude. Oh my god, this movie's tight.
This movie is it's
so
sopping wet, dude.
God, I loved it. All right. I mean, do you want to? We got like 15 more minutes of us saying this is a great movie.
This movie is wet, man.
Let's wrap it up. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Thanks for commenting.
I'm glad we got to finally watch this because we have talked about getting it on here eventually. So we're going to just do this podcast long enough. We're going to end up doing some really weird movies eventually. So we'll just see everything that we want to watch. Maybe.
I know, yeah.
Because
we need Solaris now. Because I was thinking, I'm like, I haven't seen Solaris for a minute, and that kind of does what this movie could have done. Because it could have made it where it's like, oh, the sun madness, and now I'm starting to see like Pinback could have just been a vision or something.
We'll talk about but maybe we'll do like once a week. We'll do like we'll pick like Tarkovsky movies or something, or like find another way to work them in. But speaking of movies that I've put on the poll multiple times and never wins, so this next moving on. This last month has been sci-fi, but we're moving on into the next month. We're gonna do. I wanted to do movies that take place across the course of like one day, about like 24-hour movies. We always had kind of a soft spot.
We're a little loose on 24-hour movies too, because it's like
I'm not gonna
technically it's like Dazed and Confused is 24 hours, even though it takes place over 2 days.
I'm not gonna I'll probably go on and I'll make a post about like what are your favorite movies. But I'm not going to be like, well, actually, there's a flashback that doesn't really count. Right. It's like, it's pretty loose. But generally speaking, most of the movie taking place over the course of like a day because it's like that live action, so much conflict in a day. I don't want these big epics. The opposite. I'm trying to bring it down. But the movie, and I'm sad because it only got one vote. The poor soul that voted for it. And I'm like, one day we will watch Kids because I got one vote. So Kids, we're not watching Kids. The movie we were watching next week is actually a Spike Lee joint. Like do the right thing,
which is kind of a kids-esque. Not really.
Have you seen it?
It's New York. Yeah, dude, it's great. I love it.
I've never seen it, and it's been on my list forever. So I'm glad it won. I actually voted for it, and I didn't think it would win because I felt like I put some pretty competitive movies on there, but
it's fucking dope. Like it's really cool.
I'm looking forward to watching it too, especially because it's starting to get really hot here too. Because I think I put it on one of the summer movies that we did last year, and it didn't win. But
do the right thing, baby. It's really good.
So
John Turturro's great in it.
God, he's in it. I didn't even know that. See, I'm there for John. Go listen to our Miller's Crossing episode.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, so next week we're watching Do the Right Thing. Check that out. Thanks for listening to this, and thank you to everyone on the Reddit, to all the patrons.
Oh yes, our lovely patrons. Thank you. We've got fun things coming down the pike.
I made more stickers, so hopefully that means we're gonna get some more stickers. Yeah, we're working on some cool movie night kind of shit that we're gonna roll out here in the future. Hopefully to kind of have more interaction. So I think it's gonna be fun.
Love you guys.
It'll be good. So thanks for listening. We're all just stare dust.
Yeah.
We're all. Yeah. All right.
Goodbye.